Everyone ran. Even the aliens. Even the heroes. When the battlefield went silent and the smoke cleared, there was only one human still walking toward the wreckage, and he was walking the wrong way. The war on Carthos 9 had ended an hour ago. Or at least, that's what Command declared. The sky was still burning orange from orbital strikes. Pieces of broken ships fell like dying stars. The air smelled like metal, ash, and something bitter that no one wanted to identify. Corporal Adrian Vale adjusted his cracked helmet and ignored the retreat order blinking red inside his visor. Fall back. Extraction in 5. He muted it. Ahead of him, half buried under the shattered hull of a Dominion assault crawler, something moved. Not debris. Not machinery. Something alive. Adrian stepped over a fallen drone and pushed aside twisted alloy plating. His boots sank into soft alien soil, warm from plasma fire. That's when he saw her. A towering alien warrior, armored in deep violet biometal, etched with glowing symbols that pulsed faintly like a dying heartbeat. Her lower body was crushed beneath wreckage. One of her upper limbs was bent at an unnatural angle. She was enormous, deadly, and completely helpless. One golden eye flickered open. It locked onto him. Human, her voice rasped through a fractured translator unit. Finish it. Adrian lowered his rifle. He had seen this species before, the Varelian Guard. Elite shock troops of the Dominion. Fast. Merciless. Unstoppable. He had watched one tear through a human mech division 2 days ago. Maybe even this one. He should have walked away. Everyone else did. The human squads had already pulled back. The remaining Varelians had evacuated their wounded. No one crossed enemy lines after the final blast. That was the rule. But Adrian had grown up in flood zones on Earth's broken coasts. He knew something about rules. Rules were fine. Until someone needed help. You can still move your arms, he asked calmly. Her eye narrowed. Why? Because I'm about to lift this off you. And I'd prefer not to lose a hand. Silence. Then, faintly, one clawed limb twitched. Adrian exhaled. He wedged a fractured beam under the wreckage and activated his suit's last reserve of servo power. The exoframe whined in protest. Warning lights exploded across his visor. He pushed anyway. The metal shifted. The alien warrior made no sound, but her claws dug trenches into the soil. With a final strained shout, Adrian rolled the debris aside. His suit died immediately after. Power. 0. He collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. The alien remained still, her lower body unmoving. Paralyzed. Her armor systems flickered erratically. You're not walking, Adrian observed quietly. Her voice was steady despite everything. My spinal cord is severed. I am tactically obsolete. He almost laughed. Tactically obsolete. She turned her head slightly. My command marked me lost. No retrieval signal was answered. Adrian looked around the empty battlefield. Everyone walked away. Even hers. He hesitated only 1 second. Then he removed his helmet. The alien's eye widened slightly. Humans exposing their faces in combat zones was rare. My name is Adrian Vale, he said. And I'm not leaving you here. You owe me nothing, she replied. That's kind of the point. In the distance, thunder rolled, but it wasn't weather. It was engines. Varelian retrieval crafts returning to sweep survivors. Or eliminate them. Adrian's comm flickered back to life briefly. Vale, report your position. Enemy scouts inbound. He cut it again. The alien studied him carefully. You risk execution from your own kind. Probably. You risk death from mine. Definitely. A pause. Why? Adrian looked at the burning sky. Because someone should prove this war doesn't get to decide who deserves to live. The engines grew louder. Searchlights began scanning the wreckage. The alien's breathing became shallow. If my people find you aiding me, she warned, they will not show mercy. He smiled faintly. Yeah. Humans have a habit of surviving things that should kill us. Without waiting for permission, he tore open a compartment on his disabled suit and removed a compact field neuropatch, experimental human tech designed to temporarily bypass spinal trauma. It wasn't made for alien biology. It wasn't tested outside labs. It could fail horribly. He pressed it against a junction in her damaged armor. The device scanned rapidly. Error symbols flooded the display. Incompatible, it beeped. Story of my life, Adrian muttered. The searchlights were seconds away now. He ripped open the casing, exposing raw connectors. If it can't translate your signals, he whispered, working fast, I'll make it listen. He rewired it manually, bridging alien biocircuits to human adaptive gel nodes. Sparks jumped. The patch overheated instantly. He held it in place anyway. The alien suddenly gasped sharply. Her armor flared bright gold. Every searchlight in the sky flickered for half a second. Then stabilized. But something had changed. Her lower claws twitched. Then moved. Very slightly. She stared at him. Forced synchronization. Temporary, he panted. 5 minutes. Maybe less. The engines roared overhead. A Varelian scout craft descended beyond the ridge. Can you crawl? He asked. She tested her limbs. Barely. Yes. Good. He grabbed her under one massive arm and helped drag her toward a collapsed trench. Search beams swept just meters behind them. Blaster fire erupted in the distance, human patrols engaging scouts. They reached cover just as a scout drone passed overhead. The alien leaned heavily against the trench wall. Her golden eye fixed on him. You altered species-locked neurotech in under 2 minutes. Humans improvise, Adrian replied. You should not have survived this war. He grinned weakly. Yeah, we hear that a lot. The temporary patch began to dim. She felt it too. My paralysis will return. Then we'll buy more time. For what? He looked toward both armies clashing again in the distance. For something better than this. She studied him in silence. Then, slowly, deliberately, she extended one clawed hand toward him. Not as a threat, but as acknowledgement. My name is Commander Lyara Threx of the Varelian Guard. He took her hand without hesitation. Nice to meet you, Commander. Above them, the war restarted. But in that trench, in the shadow of destruction, something impossible had just begun. And neither side would see it coming. The paralysis returned. But not fully. Commander Lyara Threx expected darkness when the human patch failed. Instead, she felt something else. Residual signal. Faint. Persistent. Like a spark refusing to die. She flexed her lower limbs. They trembled. But they moved. Adrian noticed immediately. That's not supposed to happen, he said, staring at the burnt neuropatch in his hand. It should have failed completely, Lyara replied. Yeah, well, humans don't really do complete failure. We specialize in barely working but somehow good enough. Above them, Varelian scout drones scanned the battlefield. Human artillery fired from the western ridge. The war had resumed in chaotic bursts. But something was different. Lyara closed her eyes and focused. The synchronization, it did not simply override my spinal core, she said slowly. It adapted. Adrian blinked. Adapted how? It learned. He stared at her. That patch doesn't learn. It's cheap battlefield tech. It learned, she repeated firmly. Then she looked at him differently. Not as prey. Not as enemy. As anomaly. In Varelian war doctrine, technology was sacred and fixed. It followed rules. It obeyed design. It did not improvise. Humans, apparently, did not get that memo. A tremor shook the trench. A Varelian heavy walker crested the ridge, scanning for survivors. Lyara's breathing sharpened. That unit will detect my life signature. My armor beacon is damaged but not silent. Adrian peeked over the trench edge. Can you mask it? No. He thought for exactly 3 seconds. Then he grabbed mud. Liara stared. You are not serious. Trust me. He smeared thick mineral mud across the glowing seams of her armor, packing it into vents and cracks. The walker's scanner beam passed overhead, paused, then moved on. Liara went still. That will not block spectrum scans. It doesn't have to, Adrian said. It just has to confuse them long enough. You are disrupting signal clarity. Exactly. Varelians valued precision. Clean signals. Clear readings. Humans specialized in noise. The walker turned slightly, recalibrating. Then an explosion erupted to the east, human mortar fire. The walker pivoted away toward the larger threat. Liara looked at Adrian in open disbelief. You survived us for 6 years by doing this. Doing what? Refusing to fight correctly. He smiled faintly. We call that creativity. Silence fell between them again, but this time it was charged. Liara flexed her legs once more. The faint adaptive signal still pulsed through her spine. If we reach elevated ground, she said carefully, I may be able to broadcast a Dominion ceasefire code. Adrian raised an eyebrow. A ceasefire? That's optimistic. It is not for peace, she clarified. It is to force a tactical pause. Our doctrine demands investigation of corrupted signals. Your interference has created one. He understood immediately. You're saying if we broadcast your altered neural pattern, my command will believe their own systems are compromised. And they'll halt operations to contain it. And your forces, she added, will detect the pause and hesitate. Adrian let out a slow breath. You want to weaponize confusion? Yes. He grinned. Now you're thinking like a human. They moved. Slowly at first. Liara could walk, but each step was unstable. Adrian supported her weight as they climbed through shattered terrain toward a broken communications tower on higher ground. Blaster fire streaked past them in the distance. Smoke darkened the sky. Why help me? She asked quietly as they moved. He didn't hesitate. Because if we can prove we're smarter together than we are apart, maybe this war ends. You believe that? I have to. They reached the tower. It leaned dangerously, half collapsed, but its core transmitter was intact. Liara accessed the control panel, claws moving across alien interface nodes. Her armor glowed faintly as she channeled the adaptive signal. Adrian connected the burnt neuropatch to the tower's amplifier manually. Please don't explode, he muttered. The tower hummed. Then screamed. A pulse blasted outward across the battlefield. Every Varelian unit froze mid-movement. Every human targeting system flickered. Liara's altered neural signature flooded both networks. Corrupted. Impossible. Hybrid. Varelian command ships halted bombardment instantly. Human AI targeting grids went into diagnostic mode. For the first time in 6 years. Silence spread across Carthos 9. No gunfire. No engines. No explosions. Just wind. Liara swayed slightly, exhausted. It worked, she whispered. Adrian stared at the frozen battlefield below. Human tanks had stopped advancing. Varelian aerial units hovered mid-sky, awaiting clarification. You just paused a planetary war, he said quietly. No, she corrected softly. We did. Above them, a Dominion command cruiser shifted position, scanning for the source of corruption. Human orbital satellites recalibrated. Both sides were confused. And confused armies do not fire. Adrian looked at her. This won't last long. No, she agreed. But it is proof. Proof of what? That your species is not predictable. He laughed once. Yeah, that's our brand. She turned to him fully now. In Varelian doctrine, weakness is discarded. And you saw weakness and chose preservation. He shrugged. Maybe we define strength differently. The sky remained silent. Across the battlefield, soldiers from both sides slowly lowered weapons, unsure of orders. Command channels flooded with questions. Systems reported impossible data. Alien neural patterns blended with human algorithms. No one had a protocol for that. Liara looked toward the distant Dominion fleet. They will investigate. They will attempt to understand what you did. Good, Adrian replied. Understanding is better than shooting. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Liara asked the question that mattered. What happens when the pause ends? Adrian looked at the war machines below. Then at her. Then we show them something worse than confusion. Her golden eyes narrowed slightly. What? He smiled. Cooperation. Far above the planet, Dominion strategists argued over corrupted signal streams. Human generals demanded explanations. Neither side understood one simple truth yet. The war had not been paused by superior firepower. It had been paused by a human who refused to walk away, and an alien who chose to stand beside him. And in the space between two enemies, an idea had formed. And ideas, unlike weapons, spread. The pause ended the way all pauses end, with someone deciding they were tired of waiting. A Dominion cruiser fired a warning shot into the upper atmosphere. Just one bolt, bright and loud, a reminder to the planet below that the Varelian command still had teeth. Human commanders responded by rearming their satellites. The frozen battlefield stirred like a beast waking up. Adrian Vale stood on the broken tower platform, wind whipping ash across his face. Commander Liara Threx leaned against the transmitter core, breathing hard. The adaptive signal still pulsed through her damaged spine like a stubborn heartbeat. They'll restart the slaughter, Adrian said. Liara's voice was quiet, sharp. My command will demand the source of corruption. They will send a kill team. Not to capture. To erase. Adrian nodded. Makes sense. If your doctrine can't explain something, it destroys it. Liara looked at him. Do not pretend your people are different. Adrian didn't argue. He just stared down at the battlefield where thousands of soldiers were waiting for permission to die again. Then he did something that made Liara's eye widen. He opened his suit's emergency beacon. He switched it from encrypted military mode to wide broadcast. Liara's claws tightened. You will reveal our location. Not just our location, Adrian said. Our message. He started speaking into the open channel before doubt could catch him. This is Corporal Adrian Vale, Human Expeditionary Force. I'm alive. I'm off-grid. And I'm done fighting blind. The channel crackled. Human officers shouted, demanding he identify himself. Dominion code systems tried to jam the signal. Neither worked, because Adrian wasn't using a normal line. He was using the corrupted hybrid frequency Liara and the burnt patch had created, half human noise, half Varelian command structure. A channel nobody owned. A channel nobody could fully silence. Adrian continued, voice steady. There's an injured Varelian commander with me. She was abandoned by her own. I chose not to leave her. If you want us dead, come and do it. But understand this, your scanners, your doctrine, your rules, they don't work anymore. Liara stared at him, stunned. This is insanity, she whispered. Adrian glanced at her. No. This is advertising. She didn't understand. He spoke again, louder. You've spent 6 years telling your soldiers the enemy is a monster. But monsters don't bleed the same color as fear. Monsters don't hesitate. Monsters don't stand still when the world says walk away. A strange thing happened below. On the battlefield, a human private lowered his rifle slightly, just a few degrees, because he recognized the voice as human. A Varelian trooper hesitated because the hybrid channel carried a Dominion signature too real to ignore. In orbit, both commands leaned in. Everyone listened. Because curiosity, even in war, is stronger than hate for a few seconds. Adrian turned his head and spoke into the wind as if the entire planet was a room and he owned it. I don't know if peace is possible. But I know this, if your best technology cannot predict what one human and one alien can do together, then maybe this war has been decided by the wrong measure. Liara swallowed hard. She had been trained to see humans as chaotic animals with guns. Dangerous, yes, but simple. A storm you survived by building stronger walls. Now she realized something far worse. Humans didn't build walls. They built doors. And once they opened a door, they dragged everyone through it. A Dominion kill team arrived first. They didn't come with banners or negotiations. They came like a blade. A sleek drop pod cut through the smoke and slammed into the ridge below the tower, crushing rock into dust. 6 Varelian elites stepped out, silent, armored, precise. Liara recognized their markings instantly. The Black Spire Hunters. Erasure Specialists. They weren't here for her. They were here to make sure the galaxy never learned she had been saved. Adrian felt his throat go dry. His suit was dead. His rifle had 3 rounds left. The tower was a broken skeleton. Liara pushed herself upright despite the pain. You must run, she said. Adrian didn't move. Can you fight? Her claws flexed weakly. Not well. Good enough, Adrian said, and reached into his pack. He pulled out something that looked ridiculous. A small tube of repair foam. A thermal battery. A spool of wire. A dead drone core. And a packet labeled, "Do not mix." Liara stared. What is that? Adrian's grin was thin and grim. Humanity. The hunters advanced up the ridge, scanning. Their leader raised a weapon designed to punch through reinforced bunkers. Adrian worked like a man assembling a miracle with scrap. He didn't have time to build a gun. So he built a lie. He wired the drone core into the tower's damaged amplifier, then sprayed repair foam around the joint until it hardened like bone. He jammed the thermal battery into the circuit and wrapped wire around it. Liara watched his hands move, fast, sure, reckless. You are building a weapon, she demanded. No, Adrian said. I'm building a story their sensors will believe. He finished in seconds and slapped the tower console. The broken tower screamed again, but this time it wasn't a pause pulse. It was a signal burst. A false fleet signature. A forged Dominion emergency code. The ridge lit up with phantom readings. To the Varelian hunters, their displays suddenly showed something impossible. A full human strike wing had just arrived behind them. 1,000 heat signatures. A swarm of missiles. An ambush. Their leader hesitated. Just one heartbeat. But that was all humanity ever needed. Liara forced her damaged armor to respond. She roared, not in pain, but in defiance, and launched herself forward using the last adaptive spark in her spine. She crashed into the nearest hunter, knocking him off balance. Adrian grabbed the hunter's dropped weapon. It was heavy. Alien-made. Perfect. He fired once. The blast hit the ridge wall beside the hunters, not to kill, just to blind their sensors with debris and heat. Then Adrian did the most human thing possible. He yelled. Not a war cry. A command. Now! The battlefield below answered. Human artillery, which had been idling, suddenly fired, because they had heard Adrian's broadcast and tracked his signal. Not at the hunters. At the ridge around them. Shells slammed into the slopes, collapsing paths, cutting off retreat, creating chaos. The hunters had trained for clean fights, not collapsing mountains. Liara fought like a wounded lioness. She wasn't fast, but she was furious. Her claws tore at armor seams. Her weight smashed precision into panic. Adrian moved like a street fighter with a stolen cannon, firing short bursts to control space. Not to dominate. To survive. 2 hunters fell. 3 tried to retreat, and found the ridge gone. The last hunter, the leader, locked eyes with Liara. You were abandoned, he hissed. You are nothing. Liara's voice shook with rage and something deeper. No, she said. I was chosen. She struck him down. Silence returned to the tower. Adrian stood there trembling, weapon lowering slowly, like his body hadn't caught up with the fact he was still alive. Liara leaned against the console, chest rising and falling. Below, human squads began climbing the ridge toward them, not to capture, not to shoot, but because they had heard a human voice say something impossible and they needed to see if it was real. In the sky, Dominion Command ships shifted position again, uncertain. Because now they had proof. A Varelian kill team had failed. Not against an army. Against 2 broken soldiers and a handful of scrap. Liara looked at Adrian and said softly, "Your species is terrifying." Adrian gave a tired smile. "We prefer creative." Liara stepped closer, towering over him, then did something that would rewrite her entire civilization's doctrine. She lowered her head. Not in surrender. In respect. Adrian's open channel still broadcast to both fleets. He didn't turn it off. He spoke one last time, voice raw, simple. "Look at what just happened. Look closely. You sent your best to erase a mistake. And we stopped them with nothing but stubbornness and imagination." He paused. "And if you think that's scary, imagine what happens when humans stop fighting alone." On the battlefield, rifles lowered in small pockets. Soldiers stared at the ridge. Some whispered. Some cried. Some laughed in disbelief. Because the galaxy had always treated humans like a problem to solve. A species to contain. A storm. Now, watching one human soldier and one alien commander stand side by side after the impossible, the galaxy learned a new fear. Not of human weapons. Not of human ships. But of human choice. Because humans didn't win by being stronger. They won by refusing to accept the rules. And once humans taught that lesson to someone else, it spread. Like fire. Like hope. Like the beginning of a completely different future.